Bonjour, Kitamagi and Ireland Indishnikas, and welcome to today's episode of Social Studies Explorer. Today's edition, Congress in a Flash. What is Congress? The United States Congress is the legislative or lawmaking branch of our federal government. Congress meets in Washington, D.C. to make federal laws that apply to the entire country. Congress is bicameral, which means it is made up of two chambers, the Senate and the House of Representatives. Each chamber includes elected officials from all 50 states. Congress was created by the Constitution, and that document describes how this branch of government works. The word legislature comes from legislate, a verb that means to make laws. A legislator is a person who makes laws. Legislative, the adjective that means lawmaking, and legislation, a written document that is or may become a law. So you see that legislative to the lawmaking. Why Congress? When the Constitution was written, the goal was to create a government that represented the people. Congress works towards this goal by creating laws that reflect the needs and wants of United States citizens. The work Congress does serves the nation as a whole. Senators help by representing the needs of their entire state, while members of the House, also called representatives, work for the people in a specific section of their state called a district. In a state with a smaller population, you might only have one. States like California have more than 4 dozen. How does it all work? All of the instructions for Congress can be found in the first section of the Constitution, Article 1. It is the longest section of the Constitution, and it covers a lot of ground. How old do you have to be to serve in Congress? How long do you get to serve? How does Congress relate to other branches? All of this and more can be found in a close read of Article 1, but this handy chart shows some of the basics. Size: the Senate, there are 2 senators from each state, 100 total. In the representatives, there are 435 total, with the number of each state being determined by their population. Who qualifies? Senators must be at least age 30, a U.S. citizen for at least 9 years, and live in the state they represent. So if I was an immigrant and I moved here today, I'd have to wait 9 years before I could run for the Senate. Representatives must be at least age 25, a U.S. citizen for at least 7 years, and live in the state and district they represent. Who do you represent? In the Senate, you represent all of the citizens in your state, and in the House of Representatives, you represent the citizens who live in the district. You serve in the Senate for 6 years and House for 2. Special duties: Senator approves presidential appointments like ambassadors, judges, and cabinet members. And the House of Representatives, all bills that deal with raising money, like taxes, must start in the House. Checks and balances: that's that idea where each of the 3 branches have ways to limit the power of the other. And Congress can call for the impeachment of the president, which has happened 4 times in our nation's history, twice in the last 4 years. Pass bills over a presidential veto with 2/3 vote. So if the president says no, but all of Congress wants it to become a law, it's going to become a law. And create lower federal courts, those courts that are below the Supreme Court. The president can veto bills from Congress, and the Supreme Court can strike down laws as unconstitutional. So if Congress passed a bill saying that everyone has to give Mr. Ireland $100 every day, the Supreme Court's going to say no, and they're going to vote it down. Tell us no. Role in lawmaking: a bill can start in either chamber unless it's a tax bill, which must start in the House. A bill must be approved by both chambers of Congress before it can go to the president to be signed into law. The powers of Congress. The Constitution also lists the powers Congress has that the other branches in the individual states do not. These are called enumerated, expressed or listed powers. The Constitution doesn't go into much detail, though, which often creates controversy about what Congress is actually allowed to do. Depending on how you count them, there are between 17 and 35 powers on the list. Here are a few. Congress can create rules on how to become a citizen, collect taxes, pay debts, and borrow money, regulate trade between states and with other countries, make money and punish counterfeiters, punish pirates. Yes, that was an actual concern at the time of our Constitution, and pretty significant one. We actually fight a war with the pirates off the coast of North Africa. Congress can establish post offices, protect patents and copyrights, create lower federal courts. Congress has the power to declare war, raise and support an army and navy. So no, it is not the president, even though the president is the commander in chief. Congress can make any other laws that are necessary and proper to carry out the powers on the list. Who's in charge? In addition to listing the powers of Congress, the Constitution says who is in charge of each chamber. You may be surprised to learn that the Vice President of the United States is also the President of the Senate, although the Vice President can only vote when there's a tie. But the Vice President can't always be there, so senators also elect a President pro temp who leads when the VP isn't available. In the House of Representatives, the leader is called the Speaker of the House. The Speaker of the representatives vote to decide who their speaker will be. It's an important job. The speaker is second in line to become president in an emergency after the vice president. So if aliens abduct the president and vice president today, it would go to the current Speaker of the House, who is pictured on the left, and that's Nancy Pelosi, a Democrat from the state of California. Making laws. Congress makes a law by introducing an idea, discussing and changing it, voting on it, and sending it to the president for approval. The rough draft of a law is called a bill. Bills can start in either chamber of Congress, but the example below starts in the House of Representatives. So a representative writes a bill and gets support from others. It's assigned a number and is read aloud on the House floor. The bill is sent to a committee for close review. The committee approves, the bill will be sent to all members. Then there's floor debate, which means we discuss it and see about adding or subtracting things to it. It's then voted on. After that, it's sent to the Senate, where it goes through the same debate. Quite often, the Senate will change a few things, so then you have to compromise to see which things between the Senate and House to make it work. And then they both vote on the compromise bill, because you have to approve the exact same version. Then it goes to the president, who can do a couple things. They can say yes by signing it. You can ignore it. And if the Congress is in session, the bill automatically becomes law after 10 days, even if the president doesn't sign it. Or the president can say no, which means to veto. And then it goes back to Congress to decide if 2/3 of the members want it overwritten. Help the historian. Someone has found an early copy of the Constitution, but it is in pretty bad shape, and a lot of pieces are missing, especially in Article 1. Now that you know about Congress, you can help fill in the gaps. Read each excerpt and decide what should go where the numbers are. So which chamber of Congress is section 2 talking about? So you can see section 2, and there's 3 and 5. What role is missing here? How old must they be to serve? So these are some of your questions. These will be found in the Google Classroom as well. Who does what? Read each statement, decide if it's about the House, the Senate, or both. Then go ahead and fill this out on the diagram. This is on the paper copy only. We talk about compromise, and this will also be in the Google form to find a solution of these two bills. At this point, you should return to the Google Classroom to complete the assignment. If you have any questions, please reach out to me at myireland@scicchipschool.net. Have a minute, minwa,